Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Enlightened Entrepreneur. Today's title of our interview is one I'm very, very thrilled to have, and we have entitled this as how every business owner can find a high quality or premium quality job candidate at the fraction of the cost of a traditional recruiting firm. And with me today is a gentleman that I respect. I met recently, Rob Shneer, who has 18 years of HR leadership experience in large global corporations, mid-sized, fast-growing companies, and small privately held businesses. Now, prior to co-founding HRPals, Rob was a senior vice president of a human resource for Verego Solar, a rapid growth residential solar business where he built a recruiting function that filled over 100 positions per month. Welcome to the show, Rob Shneer.
Thank you, UK. It's a pleasure to be here.
Really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to be here with us and to talk about, the critical skills that business needs to develop when it comes to recruiting, people to play a part in their organization. Now, to get us started, Rob, our audience would like to know who you are, what you've done, and what you're able to do so that they can relate with you better. So, to get us started, tell us your journey.
Thank you for asking. It's been fun. I've been working in human resources for almost 20 years. I've owned my own consulting practice for the last couple of years, but prior to that, I worked in corporate human resources functions for 18 years. So this was both with large global corporations where it was a great opportunity to learn best practices on the right way to do things. And then I also spent a lot of time working with smaller businesses, helping them grow, where I could apply a lot of those best practices that I picked up in the global corporations. So it's been a lot of fun over the last 20 years working with different business owners. I also received a master's in human resources as well from here in the States to help with the training and get some of the skill development from that perspective. And lastly, I'm certified as a senior professional in human resources, and that is it's a kind of the top level human resources designation in the US as well.
Incredible. And you've done this on, from global corporations to small companies. What has been the most satisfying part of working with people from these two different extremes?
It's definitely got to be helping them find and hire the right people, because that's really everything. And there's a lot of pieces that go into human resources, but frankly, in my opinion, if you're not hiring the right people from the start, it doesn't matter. The rest of it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how well you're managing them or motivating them or compensating them if you haven't hired the right talent to begin with. So by far, that's been the most rewarding, because when you see the right fit where you're getting the right person and the right job, and you see what it does to the business and how much it's personally positively affecting the business owner, it's great. And that's what gets me out of bed every morning.
Incredible. And that's the reason we have you here today, because we're going to be talking about the ways people or organizations, big companies and smaller companies, are recruiting today. In your opinion, what are the ways of recruiting that exist today, and which one are the best ones?
Yeah, good question, UK. I view the recruiting world, from a business owner's perspective, that you've really got four choices when it comes to staffing up your organization. So number one is what you do, which is outsourcing. And I think that's a great option for a lot of businesses and for certain roles in particular. For other jobs, though, outsourcing doesn't make sense. And it makes more sense to hire someone in-house as an employee.
Right.
In my practice, we focus kind of on the opposite of what you do. We actually focus on hiring people for our clients as employees, as in-house employees. And within that spectrum, there's traditionally only been two ways to recruit people. And what we've developed at HRPals is a third way to do that.
Right.
Would now be UK, would now be a good time to talk through those options, or would you prefer to wait?
Absolutely. I think we can go ahead and talk through those options.
Okay, great. So when I first started in human resources, you really only had two options when it came to recruiting. The first was posting job advertisements, waiting for people to apply, and then sifting through those applications and hoping you found the right person, or hiring the best of the applicants. The other option was going out and hiring a headhunter, and the headhunters, they do a great job, but it's a very expensive service. So having worked in HR for all those years, I saw those two options. I was never fully satisfied with either of them. So when I started my practice, I developed this third method of recruiting that we do at HRPals. And it's the goal of this third method is to provide a premium level service like a headhunter would offer, but because we're an HR consultant and we're a partner with the business, we have a model where we're able to do it at a much more affordable rate than a headhunter can offer.
Awesome. Let's dive deep into your model, is compared to the headhunter. What are the main differences, or what differentiates you from the headhunters strategy?
Well, yeah, so first I would say that, the main difference that our model offers as opposed to the headhunter is really the fee model. And we can talk about the fee model, but I would assume the business owners are going to be interested in understanding the tactics and the techniques, because what we find is a lot of the clients that hire us is they're trying to do it themselves, which I think is a great option if you have the time to do it, which a lot of our clients don't, and they are relying on posting these job ads. And we just see a huge weakness in that model, especially when the economy is good and things are good and unemployment is low. When you post job ads, you don't always get a great quality of applicant. So you may get 300 people applying for your job. So the first thing you have to do is you have to sift through 300 applications, most of which, frankly, aren't going to be a good fit for your position. That's what we've seen. So of the 300, you're lucky to find 10 whose resumes even fit what you're looking for. And then of those 10, you don't know what types of people they are. So you get them on the phone and you screen them and you find that they may not be a good fit. So you whittle that population down even more. And now where you started with 300, you're left with maybe 2 that are even remotely qualified for your position. But again, you don't know if they're really the right fit. Our approach takes a completely opposite perspective. Rather than being reactive and waiting for people to apply, our approach is to really sit down, identify exactly what type of person you want, what type of skill set you want, identify the companies that you may find these people working at, figure out what job titles they might have at those companies, and then proactively go out and find them, get them on the phone, and tell them about your great company and your great opportunity. So that's where our model is similar to a headhunter. That's what headhunters do, and that's why they can charge this, a premium rate to do that. And what we do instead is, as a consultant, we work just on a basic hourly fee for our clients. And so when we do the searches for our clients, it ends up costing the client anywhere between 5 and 10% of the new hire's first year salary. And, headhunters will charge 20, 30%, maybe even more. So it costs 50 to 80% less than a headhunter. So that's where we see this approach as being an advantage over a headhunter. And the other thing we do for our clients too is, if they do have the time, we'll teach them how to do it themselves, how to take this proactive approach themselves. I like doing that. I like to make our clients self-sufficient. The reality is, however, our clients usually tell us, I don't have the time for that. That's what I'm paying you to do. Please go, please help me go find those people. And we can do it that way as well.
Incredible. Now you touch on that aspect of you teach your clients to do that. Can we go through the process of doing that in our time here together at this point?
Absolutely. And the first step is probably the most important step, and that is clearly defining what it is and who it is that you want to hire. So this goes beyond, wanting X years of experience, doing whatever it is you want the person to do. We really like to dig deeper with the clients. Not only do we want to understand what type of experience we want the person to have, we also really need to understand the type of behaviors and personality traits that are going to help the person be successful.
Right.
And in addition to that, we really need to understand our client's culture. What makes someone operate well in your organization? Each company culture is different. So we want to make sure that the job candidates we're looking for meet all of those things, not just the experience, not just the personality, but also, are they going to be a fit for your organization's culture, for your type of leadership style? Are they going to function well in your environment? So that's step one. And I think that's missed a lot of times. If you don't get that right, the rest of the process isn't going to work.
Okay. Now, before we jump to the next one, do you have any particular tool that you use to assist you in identifying all these particular things that you've talked about, the behavior, the culture, and all that which is involved?
Absolutely. We've developed, and this is a byproduct of my 20 years of experience. I've developed I call it a search initiation questionnaire, which, it's basically a fancy way of saying these are a list of questions. These are the list of questions that I ask the person who's doing the hiring about the candidate. And it's about 30 questions long, and it really digs in on the attributes that we found to predict success of a job candidate. So, and this is a living, breathing document. I'm editing it all the time as I learn new things, but it's something that we use every time, both when I do searches and when my team is doing searches. We're very consistent about making sure that we address all of the various things on that instrument.
Absolutely. And I assume that when you are working with a client, the client will also have access to this particular tool that you have if they are to work with you.
Yes, of course.
Okay, beautiful. We can move on to the second stage that you mentioned here for our audience.
Yeah. So once we've nailed down the profile of the candidate, the second piece is we call it our sourcing strategy.
Right.
And when we say sourcing, what that means is what sources are we going to use to find people who might be a good fit for this job? So the first thing I like to do with the client is identify, the client always knows more than I do about their space, right? They live it, they breathe it, they lose sleep over it. They know their industry better than anybody. They know who all their competitors are.
Absolutely.
They know relevant industries to potentially hire from because they've had experience probably. Some industries have worked well. They may have found in their experience that other industries haven't translated as well. I want to get all this information out on the table and start with a list of industries to hire from, a list of companies, and a lot of times our clients want us to hire from their competitors. I like that. It's fun. It brings out the competitive juices in me. So we'll make a list of companies too. And it's at this point, this is where a lot of the clients generally prefer to hand the work off to us as a third party, as opposed to doing it themselves. Is once we identify those sources, that's where it gets tough. And that's where a lot of people don't like to do the work because it involves cold calling a lot of times. And for these business owners, it would involve cold calling into their competitors. And that might not go over too well, or they might not, for good reason, might not be comfortable doing it. That's our job. right? So we'll do that work on their behalf, and we can do it in a lot of ways. We can do it. We can make those initial calls in a confidential fashion, where we find these potential candidates. We tell them about the search we're doing and the type of job we are recruiting for, but we don't necessarily share the company name at that point, because we don't want to put our client in that position where they might get a bad reputation, right?
That's right.
It's not until we've done an initial conversation with the candidate and we find out that A, they could potentially be a good fit, and B, there's mutual interest, that they are interested in this job. It's not until that point that we've established mutual interest that we'll disclose the name of the company. And again, that's really to protect our clients and their reputation and their brand. We feel there's some value there in doing that. But that's, to me, I think that's the most challenging part of the process to do. It's a lot of people don't like doing it. You don't like reaching out to people you haven't met and cold calling them and contacting people who haven't necessarily applied for this job. But that's where you find the best people. Those people you're calling, you already know they meet the majority of your criteria. That's why you're calling them. So that reduces your risk that you're going to make a bad hire incredibly. And that's why we like that approach, because you can really target the people who are going to have a very high likelihood of success in the job. Again, as opposed to posting a job ad and waiting for applicants who may or may not fit at all.
Absolutely, and it's time consuming.
Very time consuming, yep.
Let's talk about the next stage. We identified the right person. The behavior, the culture, what is needed by the company. Now we are on the sourcing strategy. What happens after? What should business owners do, to finally get that right candidate into their organization?
Right. So once you've established your sourcing strategy, obviously you need to start executing on that strategy, right? You need to go down your lists and you need to compile a list of potential candidates. And of those potential candidates, a lot of them aren't going to be interested, and that's fine. They're very happy doing what they're doing. They're loyal to their organization, and I have the utmost respect for that. We educate people on the opportunity, but once we're told that they're comfortable where they are, we're not pushy. I'm very respectful of people's employment situations, so we cross them off the list. And so you talked about the process being time consuming. That's where it can be time consuming. So let's say we've identified 100 prospects we want to target. Odds are that 2/3 of them aren't going to even be interested in the conversation. And that's fine. We understand there's a numbers game aspect to this as well. But that still leaves 1/3 of that group. So if we had 100 to start with, now we've got 33 prospects. And if I can get those 33 prospects on the phone for an initial 30-minute call, that's all we need at this first stage. We have a 30-minute conversation with each of those people and assess them against the set of criteria that we've established. Now we've whittled that list of 33 down to, say, half a dozen. So now we have a half a dozen potential people that we can bring in for a much more thorough interview and assessment process with the client. And that's where the client appreciates having help, because I love to tell my client, we're going to do all this work, but you're not going to see any of it. What you're going to see in a couple of weeks is a small group of 3 to 6 finalists for you to interview and choose from.
Right.
But we're going to do all this legwork up front to get to that point. And as I don't want to waste their time interviewing people who aren't even close to what they're looking for. Now, are they going to like all 3 to 6 of the candidates that we present to them? No, I don't expect them to. But I expect them to at least tell me when they're done interviewing that, hey, those 3 to 6 people, they fit exactly what we were talking about at the beginning. I ended up not liking a couple of these people for various reasons, but they were close. But obviously the goal is from that process, let's find the one person we want to make an offer to in that group of 3 to 6 people.
Awesome. And then the company will take over from there.
Sometimes yes, and sometimes no. I defer to the client on that. We will handle the entire offer and negotiation process if the client prefers. Some of the clients prefer to do it themselves. It's really a personal preference. So sometimes we'll back off and let the client take it from there. And sometimes we'll complete the process and we'll onboard the new hire for them, and then hand the individual off to the client.
Incredible. Let's talk about in a scenario where the business owner feels they are stuck. Say in the sourcing stage of the whole recruitment process. What can they do when they're feeling that unwelcome feeling of feeling I'm stuck? I haven't got all the candidates that I need. Right. I'm getting the wrong people. What should they do?
Right. So as I have a two-part response to that. Number one is, let's go back to our sourcing strategy and really make sure that we've done everything that we possibly could to find the people, within that meet this criteria that we've defined. You may have thought, as you've gone through the process of talking to that first set of candidates, you may have learned things in the process where maybe new avenues can be opened up, where there is a potential candidate pool that you didn't, that you weren't otherwise aware of. So that's number one. Go back to your sourcing strategy and see if you missed anything. I mean, it's as simple as that. And you may find that you have. We do see that a lot, again, because the hiring process a lot of times is a learning process and you learn things on the way. And so go back, apply those learnings and see if you can find more candidates. Absolutely. Now, if you do that and you're still stuck, that's where we will go back. And if I was advising a client, I would say, okay, let's go back to the beginning. And we feel like we both agree that we've exhausted every possible avenue to find people who meet this profile. Let's go back and look at the profile again. Do we need to expand our list of target industries or target companies, where maybe folks are going to need to use more transferable skills to be successful on the job? I find a lot of times that the clients are surprised by how easy people can transition from one industry to another. I think most people, when they go into a hiring process, you have a bias of, I need to hire someone who knows my industry, who has experience in my industry, because they're going to get it. And someone from outside of my industry, they won't get it. And I don't want to invest the time to have to teach someone. It's going to take too long. And I understand that. But I would also say, in my experience, if you're hiring the right people who have the right attributes and who are good learners, and that's the key. If you hire people who are good learners, which I advise everybody to do for every hire, assess people's ability to learn. I'm not talking about raw intelligence either. Raw intelligence is one thing, and I think for some jobs that's necessary, and for other jobs it's not as necessary. But the ability to learn is different, and I think is critical to any job, because the environment is changing, the economy is changing, your business is always changing. And if you can't learn and learn quickly, you're going to fail, regardless of what job you're in. And so to go back to my point, if I'm hiring a good learner, they're going to be able to pick up my industry very quickly. I can't teach the ability to learn. I can't teach the fit with my culture, but I can teach them the industry, and I can teach them that pretty quickly. And sometimes I'll actually find that the person from outside of the industry is in fact a better hire for the client than the person within the industry.
That is so true. We have experienced that in many situations. Like in our outsourcing efforts, I send somebody to work in a particular field. They've never been there. They are keen to learning, and also they're willing to do things that other people who are used in the industry are not keen on doing. And
exactly.
They end up the best for the particular job.
Exactly. Yeah, you get someone from in the industry, a lot of times they might be stuck in their ways.
That's right.
They might only know one way to do it, and they might not want to try different ways of doing things. And that's not always what you want. So I actually like hiring people from outside of the industry. So that's what I would advise. If folks get stuck, look outside your industry. You might be surprised by the type of talent you can find that will really flourish in your company.
Incredible. You've covered, very important steps here, which, I know business owners in our audience today will be implementing and seeing a great result from there. Is there anything, in your opinion, that you think is very important, but I haven't been able to ask that you can share with our audience today?
Sure. I think to get to the last piece of that hiring process would be, how you're actually going about assessing your candidates. So,
Right.
we talked a lot about sourcing, right? And where are we finding these people? But we didn't talk about how are we going to assess when I've actually found the winner, right? The person who I think I want to make a job offer to.
Right.
And I'd argue that's the most important step of the process. And I think most business owners are probably pretty good at that, or else they wouldn't be in successful and in the positions that they're in. They've learned how to hire people and read people.
That's right.
I think they're interviewing and assessing people. It's part art and it's part science. And I guess my one piece of advice would be, don't rely too much on the art. There is some art, and people like to trust their gut, and I do think there's value in that. Particularly when your gut says, "I'm not sure about this person," don't hire the person. And I see that a lot. I'll get the call from a client. Well, I talked to this candidate, and he or she checks all of the boxes on our list of criteria, but there's something about, I have a gut feeling that they're not the right person. All right, so then I would say trust your gut, because you're probably right. That's right. Now, I think that's a healthy skepticism when you feel that, and you should listen to your gut. Now, the opposite of that is when I'll hear a lot of clients say the opposite. I've got my checklist of criteria, and they only met half of the criteria. The other half they didn't. But my gut says this person's the right fit, and I want to hire them. And that's where I put up the stop sign, and I'd caution them to slow down. And I'd go back and I'd say, all right, we sat down at the beginning of this process and we identified the criteria that we agreed would make someone successful in this job. You're telling me this person doesn't have half of those things, yet your gut's telling you to hire them. Why? Well, we just hit it off. Very likable person. We had great rapport. I could really see myself working well with this person. I see that a lot. And I don't want to understate the value, again, of fit and rapport and likability. I think all of that is important. Right. But I think a mistake people who are hiring make is they get caught up in that, and they put too much emphasis on that rapport and that likability that they have in that one or two interviews, and you kind of put your blinders on to the things that might be missing from the candidate. Again, I'm not saying not to hire, but to me that's huge stop sign. Take a step back. Maybe do another interview, maybe have someone else interview that person, maybe have them do an assessment, an objective assessment, a test to validate your decision before you move forward.
Wonderful, wise advice there, Rob. I really appreciate that. Now, one thing I know for a fact is our audience, would want to connect with you at some level, and they want to know, maybe in some details, what sort of service you offer and how you can be of help to them. Can we talk about that for a moment?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. So my firm, our name is HRPals. and we can be found online at www.HRPals.com. And we provide a few different human resources services. Our most popular service line is our recruiting service that I was talking about earlier. And with that service, we work with the client to help them fill in-house positions, and we bill by the hour. Typically, our searches will take 4 to 6 weeks to complete. Sometimes they're quicker than that. Sometimes they're a little longer than that, depending on the complexity of the role. So that's one service line is our contract recruiting, and that's where we'll replace the expensive headhunter or replace the job posting that you're doing internally. The second service line is a full human resources outsourcing service. This is for small to mid-sized companies that don't have a need for a full human resources department in-house, and they outsource the human resources function to us. And the contract recruiting is part of that service, but we also do all of the other human resources activities that your business might need as well. And then the third thing we do are standalone human resources projects. So if you have a one-time need, like building designing a compensation plan or doing a compliance audit for your organization, just if you're not sure if your current employee policies and procedures are in compliance with your local regulatory environment, we can come in and do an audit and tell you either yes, you're fine, you're in compliance, or no, you're out of compliance in these areas, and then we can work with you on bringing your organization into compliance as well. We also do leadership workshops. We can help companies that are trying to sell their business or maybe acquire a business, do human resources due diligence, both on a potential acquisition target, or if you're positioning yourself for a sale, we can help you get set up, again, from a compliance standpoint to ensure that when a potential buyer is doing due diligence on you, that there's no red flags from the buyer standpoint as well. And then, UK, I could go on and on and on. It's a very broad, human resources, as you know, is a very broad function that there's literally dozens and dozens of different types of HR projects that our clients ask for that we can help them with. But those different things they're spelled out on our website if folks are interested in learning more.
Incredible. And the website is www.HRPals.com. And I've been to your website. It's really cool, actually, what you've managed to do there. And good work there. Now, I actually invite everyone to look at that. And if you fail to get through to that, do you have an email address they can directly get in touch with you, or maybe social media, place they can find you?
I do. My email address it's very easy to remember. It's Rob, R-O-B, at HRPals.com. So it's R-O-B at HRPals.com. And our company also has a Facebook page as well under HRPals, and a LinkedIn page as well. So there's lots of different ways to find us.
Incredible. Thank you for that. Now, we want to talk to Rob. We separate the business and you. You're a business owner, just like many of our audience today. What motivates you, Rob?
The question you asked me at the beginning, it's a big part of why I love doing what I'm doing. I love it when we can help our clients fulfill their dreams. Part of me running my own business, it's to help me fulfill my dreams, but a big part of that is seeing other business owners be successful. And I know, just from my own experience, I know how important hiring the right people is to running a successful business, as I'm sure you do as well in your line of work, UK. So that's really what motivates me is helping our clients find those people, and then helping our clients get the most out of those people, where the client's business is thriving and they're happy. And also the people we've placed, the people we've hired, they're happy as well, right? When you get that fit, when you get that chemistry between a person and a company or an organization where both parties win and both parties are happy and motivated, it's just great to see, because it's not just a job, it's such a huge part of your lives, and you see how it changes people when they're in the right job. So that's the part that motivates me. That's why I got into this field to begin with. It's just great to see.
Incredible. And what I love about what you just shared there is you understand your audience, you understand the people you are serving, and like you've demonstrated today, you deliver great value. Some of the things you were sharing with us, a lot of people pay for that knowledge, but you freely were giving our audience here that level of knowledge that goes on to tell the kind of a person you are. If anyone in our audience wants somebody to work with, I highly recommend you get in touch with Rob. Having been speaking with him before this recording, there's one thing that is so true, which resonates with me, is how authentic he is. Now, Rob, how do you go about looking for new clients to serve or market your own business? What do you do now, probably, that you didn't do early in your career of helping other people?
I spend, when it comes to developing business, I would say 95% of our business comes through word of mouth and referrals. So for me, it might be different for a big part of your audience, but for me, the best way I can market myself is by really serving our clients well. And when I do that, I have no shame in asking for referrals. But I know I have to really do a great job for the client to earn those referrals too. We've found, doing this for a few years now, that's been the best way to bring in new business, is do a good job for our clients, and build our brand, build our reputation. And it's been our best source for bringing in new business. Now we also do some marketing online and some direct email and things like that. But frankly, they're not. Those tactics have not been nearly as effective as our referral channel.
Incredible. I love what you said about there, that you do a great job, and after you've done that, you have no shame in asking for referrals. That's a brilliant statement right there.
It's true. I have to. A lot of people, what I find is most people, if you do a good job for them, they want to help you and they want to refer you, because it makes them look good too, right? If I do a good job for my referral, the person who referred me is going to look good in the eyes of the person I was referred to, and I want to help. I want to help them do that. But that said, our business owners are really, really busy, and if you don't remind them or you don't ask for the referral, it may not be the first thing that comes to mind. So like I said, I have no shame in reminding them or asking for it, and having them take a minute or two to think through their network and potential friends or colleagues of theirs who could use our services.
Incredible. It's absolutely wonderful. And thanks for giving such a great interview. And I'm sure business owners in our audience today have gotten a lot of value from what we have been talking about today. So if you're listening, here is the website to go to once again to get connected with Rob. It is www.HRPals.com. There's tons of information there, and most importantly, connect with him at some level. You will find value just like I have. Any final words to budding entrepreneurs, Rob?
I would just say, if you're particularly with hiring, if you are relying on just job postings and ads right now, you're missing out. I think you're potentially missing out on finding people who can really help transform your business. and I hate to reiterate that point, I've seen it enough. Everyone wants to hire A players. If you're just relying on job ads to do that, the chances of finding an A player through a job ad are very, very slim. I'm not saying it's impossible. You could get lucky, but it's very, very difficult. So whether you do it yourself, whether you use HRPals, whether you use an expensive headhunter, I would strongly advise that you take a more proactive approach to finding job candidates, because your business will really benefit from doing so.
Wonderful. Once again, Rob Shneer, there from HRPals.com, and really appreciate the time we spent together today. So thank you, Rob.
Likewise, thank you very much, UK. I appreciate your time as well.
Excellent. And for you guys in our audience, thank you for joining us for another episode of Enlightened Entrepreneur. I hope you implement the strategies that Rob was talking about. And any questions, be in touch with Rob. In business, don't be isolated. Don't do it all by yourself. As if you do that, your growth rate is going to be slower. Get connected with Rob, and alternatively, send us an email. If you can't get hold of Rob or anyone of his teams, you send an email to support@worldoutsourcingsolutions.com. We'll be very happy to put you in touch. With that said, have a great day, everyone, and remember to live with passion and go for your goals. If you keep dreaming them and working toward them, you will eventually get to them. With that said, have a great day, everyone.